Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation has raised concern over the high levels of non-revenue water across the water boards, a situation that they say is contributing to losses. The committee's chairperson, Anthony Kamoto, raised the concern in Lilongwe during an engagement with the Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development officials. Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Erica Maganga, says the Ministry has already engaged the water boards over the matter. Banda with a report.
It is reported that non-revenue water in the water boards is ranging from 28 to 50%, which in turn is pushing water boards towards making losses. Chairperson of the committee, Anthony Kamoto, said it is worrisome that the public continue facing intermittent water supply, yet volumes of water are lost and never reach the intended consumers. He said it is important that authorities consider increasing investments towards water services in order to address the problem and pledged to work with the ministry in increasing access to clean water.
So it's a serious concern. You know, water is life, and yet people out there are staying without water. You talk about Lilongwe here. There are problems with water here. But we keep on telling people that, no, there's water, no revenue. But we're trying to encourage them to say, well, can you work on that? And they have promised that they will work on that. Because as of now, non-revenue water is at 50%, which is not acceptable.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Erica Maganga, said the non-revenue water has been impacting operations of the water boards as it contributes to the water boards incurring losses. She said to address this, the ministry requested all water boards to come up with plans aimed at addressing the non-revenue water, and the water boards have already submitted the plans to the ministry. She further attributed the non-revenue water to dilapidated infrastructure, vandalism, and theft towards water materials.
Oh, the impact is that when you have high non-revenue water, it means that the water boards is spending a lot of resources to purify water, and yet that water, most of it, instead of going to consumers, the water is being lost, not being put to good use. They cannot, earn money from that water that they are losing. So it is affecting the operations of the water boards. That's why it is a serious concern now to say we need to find ways of reversing this situation.
Among other initiatives, the ministry said it is also working on developments like the Malawi Watershed Services Improvement Project, massive groundwater point and reinforced concrete tank at Msumba in Nchisi, as well as Maganjira Water Supply Project. Banda, MBC News, Lilongwe.
The Minister of Homeland Security, Peter Mukhito, has advised people in the country to desist from spreading fake news. Speaking in Chikwawa during a community policing open day, Mukhito said the spreading of fake news is fueling cases of mob justice. The event followed a spate of rumors about missing private parts that led to cases of mob justice that have led to deaths of 8 people. We have a report by Geoffrey Chinawa, read by Ruth Chinangwa.
The event started with a big walk from Jalo Trading Center to Sekeni village. It brought together a number of cabinet ministers, the Minister of Homeland Security, Peter Mukhito, and his deputy, Norman Gisale, the Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Namalomba, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Ben Piri, and the Minister of Gender, Children and Disability, Mary Navicha. Addressing the gathering, the Minister of Gender, Children and Disability, Mary Navicha, said women, the elderly and children mostly bears the burden of mob justice. In his remarks, the Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Namalomba, condemned the recent actions by some locals that led to the death of 8 people. Namalomba has since ordered the Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority (MACRA) to put a stop to the airing of some messages by traditional doctors that are perpetrating beliefs in unfounded claims. Echoing Namalomba's sentiments, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Ben Piri, said people must work together to root out the problem. Summing it up, the Minister of Homeland Security, Peter Mukhito, assured people of maximum security and has since vowed to deal with perpetrators of fake news and mob justice.
The message I brought this afternoon was first the message of goodwill from His Excellency Professor Peter Mutharika. And the second one was to echo the message which was already delivered last week about the false information which is normally circulating amongst the communities. But at the same time, the mob justice, which is I think is becoming rampant in our societies. So those are the messages, and telling the people the dangers of the mob justice and even the giving out of false information. In fact, the social media is, I think, doing bad to our communities, that people, without verifying, are circulating information which is not true and which is causing alarm amongst our societies. And the message today is to say that we as a government will make sure that we hunt the people that actually initiating these false stories, and that mob justice is not acceptable, and whoever is involved in the mob justice will be dealt with according to the law. No, it is very important that sometimes we as cabinet ministers, we must learn to work together because we complement each other. In fact, if you look at the gathering today, it is involving the chiefs. And when you talk of the chiefs, then that's the local government. It is also involving the youth, the women, and that's automatically the Minister of Gender, and more so the Minister of Information. So it is very important that we as ministers, we must learn to work together as a community.
Currently, COM has returned to the two districts. The event was marked by activities such as football match between Blue Eagles and Njalo Select and various cultural dances.
Lake Malawi Museum Principal Curator Henry Makina has described museum facilities as crucial in economic growth and cultural enrichment. Speaking in an interview with NBC, Makina said if well preserved, museums have a great potential of contributing to socio-economic growth through domestic and international tourists who are willing to spare time to appreciate Malawi's cultural and historical artifacts and environment. Sotindazi has compiled this report read by Owen Mavula.
Museums play a crucial role in social and economic development by, among other things, serve as centers for education, preservation and community engagement. In the case of Lake Malawi Museum, the place does not only showcase diverse cultural narratives and historical artifacts, but is also crucial towards boosting tourism in the Lakeshore district of Mangochi. According to Principal Curator for the museum, Henry Makina, the facility is rich in cultural heritage and historical artifacts found along the Lakeshore district, which draws tourists and contributes to economic growth.
They pay some amount of money. So if they pay, the amount of money is deposited to account number 1, Reserve Bank of Malawi. So that money plus other revenues, they are put together, and some development activities like construction of roads, construction of hospitals, procurement of medicines in hospitals, and several other government obligations are met. So if they are met, Malawians, they enjoy the use of those infrastructure and also services. And also as a government, if foreigners are coming to visit this institution, they come in with foreign currency.
Some take time to utilize the facility for education culture. Gelsom Zamawa, a student at Malawi University of Science and Technology, says utilizing the facility for education culture and historical events is a great opportunity for Malawian learners to know more, for them to excel in education.
I have also benefited a lot in terms of lighting, because I'm studying language, communication and culture, which is related to museum, so I can be a lighter and light stories from lakeside.
The Lake Malawi Museum in Mangochi was established in 1971 by the Society of Malawi and later on officially handed over to the Department of Museum and Monument.
Government has called for embracement of metrology at all levels of society, saying it is the pillar of economic growth. Principal Secretary for Industrialization, Bright Molande, made the remarks in Banda during commemoration of the World Metrology Day. Now Charles Pensolo reports.
Metrology is the science of measurements and all its applications. This was set about 150 years ago by nations to build trust and support fair trade and ensure legal compliance with the metrology and its regulations. Speaking during the commemoration, Principal Secretary for Industrialization in the Ministry of Trade encouraged Malawians at all levels to embrace accurate measurements to build trust, which is crucial for the country's economic growth.
If you are known for improper measurements, it means you cannot be trusted. And the opposite, that if you are known to have standardized your measurements to the world scale, to the world standards, it means that you will be trusted. And once you're trusted, it means that the world can do trade with you.
The event was hosted by the country's standard regulatory body, the Malawi Bureau of Standards, MBS. In his remarks, Director General for the Bureau, Simon Mandala, said they will continue applying enforcement to make sure that all goods and services comply with authorized standards. He, however, said this needs collective responsibility.
As a bureau, we have a lot of activities that we conduct to make sure that there is compliance in standards. We go around to check and make sure that the instruments that are being used have been properly calibrated and verified, and we have certified as Malawi Bureau of Standards.
Participants to the event was clinical researcher at the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust, Bright Lipenga, who said following proper standards can also save lives.
Us in the medical field, we do benefit from meteorological services, and when we want to help our patients, we would need to be accurate on how we dose them. So there are a few measurements that we do right there at the hospital, plus even the machines that we use for correct diagnosis, they need to be calibrated.
The event, which brought together representatives from trade, health and agriculture sectors, among others, was being held under the theme Metrology, Building Trust in Policy Making. Charles Pensulo, MBC News, Blantyre.
Principal Secretary for Information Harold Msusa has challenged Malawi Broadcasting Corporation (MBC) to promote professionalism and its core duties as a public broadcaster in Malawi. Msusa made the remarks at Kaningina Studios in Mzuzu, where he also introduced Banda as the new Director General for MBC to the Northern Region staff members. Hassan Piri reports.
In his address to MBC staff at Kaningina Studios in Mzuzu, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Harold Msusa, emphasized that MBC is a public broadcaster and as such, it should be run professionally. He said government is championing the 2063 agenda with information and digitalization at the center of communication between government and the general public. He therefore said MBC has a bigger role to play in the equation, hence the need for staff that is professional and use modern equipment that will be in tandem with the ever-changing media landscape in Malawi.
MBC has got great potential. It is a public broadcaster. It can do a lot. It has got the mandate to inform, and that mandate needs to be harnessed with professionalism and also getting the infrastructure that is right. So we've discussed a number of things that will take them, into the boardrooms, because boardroom meetings are not good if we don't have good experience of what is happening out here. The journey is optimistic. There are challenges, but the journey, we're optimistic that MBC moving forward is going to be transformed and move to the great heights that is supposed to move in the digital space, and also where information today is a must, that people need to be informed.
The Principal Secretary also introduced the new Director General for MBC, Banda, to the staff of MBC in the Northern Region. Banda stated that the Kaningina studio is not a dumping site, but rather an office that is churning development stories for the region to the people of Malawi.
Mutharika government has put a special emphasis on the north. So I was telling the people there that they should not feel like they are not considered. The way that government is responding to the challenges and the calls from the north is very, very important. And we're taking the same tone. No one should feel like he's being sidelined. The north is very important, is strategic, and for us to achieve the 2063 goals, we need all the regions to align. So we are telling the members of staff there that working in the north should not be seen as a demotion.
The Principal Secretary, together with the new Director General of Embassy, Banda, also took time to appreciate the status of one of the institution's transmitter stations at Msongwe, where he emphasized that some of the equipment need to be replaced. Hassan Piri, Embassy News, Mzuzu.
Now, the Democratic Progressive Party DPP has urged people in Chilumba Ward in Karonga to vote for Wilson Dyson Mzumara in the forthcoming Chilumba Ward by-election. DPP Vice President for the North, Japi Mhango, who is also Minister of Transport and Public Works, made the remarks at Uliwa in Karonga during the launch of a campaign ahead of the June 30 by-election. Rudoviko Nyarenda has more.
Speaking during the rally, Muhango said people in the world should vote for Mzumara because of the development they have witnessed under the current administration. He said electing Mzumara would help bring more development to the area since he belongs to the ruling party.
Obviously, he's coming from a ruling party, a party that is in power, where development comes from. You are aware that the government is the one that provides development in various areas of this country. And therefore, DPP is the party in power, is the party in government. And therefore, being the party in government, we should be able to support our candidate here once he's elected as a ward councillor.
DPP Regional Governor for the North, Christopher Mzomera Ngwira, said the party will intensify campaign meetings across the world while working together with traditional leaders.
These chiefs, they're the ones who were saying that no, you take the message to Nkurubuta Mowe. Assure him that he will give support to this son of ours who will represent the party as a ward councillor.
DPP candidate for the Chirumba ward by-election, Wilson Dyson Mzumara, said the rally has motivated him to campaign vigorously ahead of the polls.
Very motivative campaign, very motivative, and I have liked it, very transforming. I was in the council before, and now I want to rewind up my duties.
The Malawi Electoral Commission, MEC, will hold the by-election in the ward following the death of People's Party councillor Hawkins Muthari on March 23rd this year. Rudoviko Nyirenda, MBC News, Karonga.
The Chief Resident Magistrates Court in Banda has set aside 4 days from June 15 to 19 to hear from defense witnesses for Wima Kasta, who is answering charges related to sexual abuse. Chief Resident Magistrate Paul Chuocha scheduled the hearing dates after defense lawyer Michael Goba Chipeta asked for more time to finalize collecting statements from witnesses. Ruth Chinangwa with the details.
The defense lawyer, Michael Goba Chipeta, told the court that his side intends to parade 16 witnesses. However, he expressed surprise at the state's application for the court to revoke the suspect's bail, arguing that the defense was delaying court proceedings. In response, state lawyer Victor Jerry said the prosecution had asked the court to revoke the bail to ensure the case proceeds quickly, citing what he described as calculated delaying tactics in the matter.
About was we, as a state, we got information from two sisters of the accused person who actually gave us a heads up in terms of saying their brother, meaning we master the accused here, is bent on delaying this matter as much as he can. And this time around, what he has planned on doing is to file and save his witness statements at the very last minute. Like, I think from the letter that they wrote me, they were talking of he's only going to save it on Monday, which was on 18th. The plan was to leave it for the very last minute in order to occasion an adjournment, because if the statements are filed and saved very close to the hearing date, it gives the state no time to prepare for cross-examination.
Meanwhile, Chief Resident Magistrate Paul Chiwocha has reserved his determination on the application to revoke bail until the court reconvenes. Ruth Chinangwa, MBC News, Banda.
Lilongwe Magistrate Court has adjourned to 17th and 18th June next month a case involving 13 people who are accused of assaulting Executive Director of SIDET, Sylvester Namiwa. Senior Resident Shukrani Kambani condemned the manner in which the defense is conducting in the case. This follows the new defense lawyer Kalidwe Chaima's appeal to familiarize himself with the case, as the defense lawyer who was leading the case, George Kazipatike, was in absentia without formal notice. State Prosecutor Presco Mayulipo said they are ready but expressed concern over the defense side's decision following the absence of the lead defense lawyer.
Actually, the state had prepared 3 witnesses. Indeed, all these witnesses were ready to testify. Unfortunately, when we were about to commence our proceedings, we were surprised to hear from the defense counsel that Counsel Kazipatike and his team are not available. You may wish to know that the Counsel Kazipatike is the one representing 12 accused persons. And you may also wish to know that none of the lawyers from Kazipatike's firm actually came for purposes of court proceedings, despite the fact that this particular firm has got more than 5 lawyers. So it was our concern, as I said, and even the court was also concerned, was equally concerned, considering the conduct of Counsel Kazipatike and his lawyers. So just because we actually advanced our serious concern to the court, and the court managed to understand our concern to the extent that the court actually made a ruling that we should proceed with the case. We have managed to parade only one witness, who happens to be one from Makra. She has testified, but she has not cross-examined. So it is for this reason, that is in the spirit of fair trial, the court has decided to adjourn this particular matter to the 17th and 18th June this year, so that we should have a resumed hearing.
You're watching News Hour here on MBC, and still to come, we join our colleagues at our Lilongwe studios, plus the latest business and sports news. A reminder of our top stories.
Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation concerned over soaring water board losses. Government assures people of Lower Shire of maximum security. And in business, traders anticipate growth as Malawi International Trade Fair opens tomorrow.
Let's now join our colleagues in the Lilongwe studios for the latest updates from the central region.
Welcome to the Lilongwe segment, coming to live from our Area 4 studios. With me, Mukhito, and my colleague
Beatrice Moabe. Straight to our first story. Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development Chimwemwe Chipungu says the surveying profession plays a key role in implementing the aspirations of the Malawi 2063. He said this during the official opening of the Mid-Year Continuing Professional Development Conference for the Surveyors Institute of Malawi. Chipungu said the work of professionals and experts in construction and land-related sectors and other stakeholders remain critical to the socio-economic transformation of the country. Mukhito reports.
Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development Chimwemwe Chipungu has challenged surveyors to support government in the implementation of the Malawi 2063 development agenda. He said government values professionals as key pillars of transforming Malawi into a self-reliant and industrialized upper-middle-income economy. Chipungu said the implementation of the Land Information Management System as a key area of reform that needs support of surveyors.
The professionals play a very key and critical part, more to do with land management, urbanization agenda in the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. The conference today and tomorrow is about continuing professional development, whereby all the technicals that are here will be discussing new issues that are coming, As you have heard, we have established what we are calling Land Information Management System, LIMS, in our ministry. This will sort out issues of land disputes, illegal development, and other issues that had gaps within our ministry. So this conference will try to bring those together and to be addressed accordingly.
Vice President for the Surveyors Institute of Malawi, Quantity Surveyor Emmanuel Tawani, disclosed that among other aspects, the conference will discuss key areas of development for the surveying profession.
This mid-year, we want to discuss much about the trending, global trending issues like private and public partnership, because we see that there's a gap. We do as professionals, but the public and the private sector goes in parallel. So we are trying to collaborate to discuss with issues regarding private and public sector.
The theme for this year's Mid-Year Continuing Professional Development Conference is Strengthening Governance and Sustainable Public-Private Sector Development, Surveyors and Built Environment Perspective. Maim Tumodzi, MBC News, Lilongwe. The Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation says it is discussing the Tobacco Commission to bring more tobacco buyers on the market. Chairperson of the committee, Anthony Kamoto, said this after touring the auction floors, where the committee went to appreciate how tobacco sales are going on the market. He said if more buyers come on the market, it's going to improve the prices which buyers do not pay. From Lilongwe, Patrick Dambula reports.
The visit to Lilongwe auction floors by the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation follows complaints from farmers about low prices being offered on the market and high rejection rates. It was noted during the visit that there is a high rejection rate of auction tobacco, which stands at 90%, whereas almost 100% of tobacco under contract farming has been sold without rejections. At the time of the visit, the leaf was fetching an average price of $2.12 per kilogram. Chairperson of the committee, Anthony Kamoto, said they wanted to appreciate the situation because tobacco is the backbone of the country's economy. Kamoto said during the visit they have discovered that the quality of the leaf has been affected because of heavy rains in most parts of the country towards the end of the growing season. He said in order to help in addressing complaints of low prices on the market, the committee will be meeting tobacco buyers next week, besides engaging the Tobacco Commission so as to bring more buyers on the market.
As of now, we only have 8 buyers, the whole country. So we are talking to Tobacco Commission to say if they can bring in more tobacco buyers. I'm happy to report and hear that Limbeleaf very shortly will come in and join as another buyer. They are already here on the contract side, but also they have promised to look also on the auction floors. So that's an encouragement as well. If we can have more buyers, then that means things should be able to improve.
Board Chairperson of Tobacco Commission, Reverend Daniel Gunya, said tobacco farmers should not lose hope because their concerns and worries are being looked into by all stakeholders.
Farmers should get this message that their concerns and their worries are being looked into by all the stakeholders, facilitated by the Tobacco Commission, and they will be supported by the Agriculture Committee of Parliament. We have agreed that this should be an ongoing dialogue, and sooner or later we will have a healthy conclusion on all these problems.
As of now, 80,000 kilograms of tobacco have been sold on auction farming, as compared to 22 million kilograms of tobacco that have been sold so far under contract farming. Patrick Dambula, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Green Cooperative, based at Nsalu in Lilongwe West, is steadily transforming into a thriving commercial goat farming enterprise through a 182 million kwacha support from the Agricultural Commercialization AFCON 2 project. The cooperative's farm manager, Rodrigue Zamula, told MBC that the investment has facilitated construction of key infrastructure at the cooperative and strengthened market access. We have details in this report.
What began as a small group of goat farmers in Nsalu EPA, Lilongwe West, is rapidly turning into a model of rural transformation after millions of kwachas in AGCOM support helped Platinum Green Cooperative expand goat production, improve meat quality and penetrate formal meat markets. Established in 2018, the cooperative now boasts of 62 active members, including women and youth, who are benefiting from a productive alliance with Foods and Feeds Wholesalers Limited, which is providing a ready market for its goats. The cooperative applied for a matching grant of over 182 million kwacha, with AGCOM contributing more than 127 million kwacha towards infrastructure development, livestock procurement and capacity building aimed at commercializing goat production. Farm manager for the cooperative, Rodrigue Zamula, said part of the funding received so far has enabled the cooperative to improve key infrastructure and strengthen operations.
From the grant from AGCOM which we obtained, we have managed in constructing the 2 corrals and also the fence. We have constructed the toilet up there. We have managed to construct the tower tank and also drill the borehole and purchasing the goats and also capacity building for the cooperative.
At Nchinji Boma, a 60-member cooperative called Amadoda, involved in soy and maize production, has managed to construct a warehouse and produce aggregating facility with funding from AGCOM too. The cooperative's immediate past chairperson, McDonald Missy, says the infrastructure will help improve the cooperative's produce handling and storage once completed.
We are hoping that after the warehouse is complete, there will be a big change because we'll have a permanent place as Amadoda where people will find us easily, and it will also empower our members that we are improving for having our own place, and also to store our crops in the warehouse. At the end, we'll have good income, which will improve our lives.
The 600 billion AGCOM 2 project continues to transform livelihoods and strengthen resilience among a number of farmer cooperatives across the country by promoting commercialized agriculture and improving market access for smallholder farmers.
8 community-based organizations in the country have received 1.3 billion support from ActionAid Malawi to implement the Local Rights Program 2026, which aims to promote rights-based development. Nchinji District Commissioner Raina Chavula, whose district hosted a symbolic handover ceremony, commended the ActionAid Malawi for the support, saying the project will help achieve the Malawi 2063 vision. Olive Piri reports.
The locally based organizations working with ActionAid Malawi to implement the local rights program are from 6 districts, including Dedza, Mzimba, Rumpi, Chiradzulu, Nsanje, and Nchinji. The program focuses on women's rights, education support, youth empowerment, agriculture and climate resilience, and protection against gender-based violence, among others. Nchinji District Commissioner Reinhard Chavula, who hosted the handover ceremony, commended ActionAid for working with local communities, saying it shows the trust that ActionAid has in local capacities. Chavula stated that the area of traditional authority Dambe in her district has transformed through the local rights initiative.
As in Nchinji, we are very grateful for the support, more especially because it is going to a very local NGO, which is at the very grassroots working with our communities. So we are grateful and we want to say thank you.
Executive Director for ActionAid Malawi, Yandura Chipeta, expressed appreciation for the support government, chiefs and other stakeholders provide to the organization in areas where it works with local organizations. Chipeta also urged partner organizations in communities to effectively deliver services to the people.
Our expectations are that they will, number one, utilize the resources diligently and with full accountability to the communities and to us as funders.
The 8 community-based organizations that have received the support to implement the Local Rights Program 2026 include Kapiri Community Development Organization in Mchinji, Kasumbu Women Forum in Dedza, Kuchene Women Forum in Nsanje, Rumpi Women Forum and Chukula Mayembe Women Forum in Rumpi, as well as Kosolo Women Forum and Tideko in Mzimba. Olive Piri, MPC News, Mchinji.
Thank you, Olive, for that report. And that's how we conclude this segment of news from our Area 4 studios in Lilongwe. Here beneath me, my Mtomonzi and my colleague
Beatrice Mwape. Thank you for watching, and we're handing you back to Waja Studios in Blantyre.
And thank you so much to our friends in Lilongwe for the updates on what is happening in the central region. Let's move on to business segment where Elin Chimoyo is now on standby.
Thank you very much, and we start with the news that trade ministers of African countries have concluded negotiations of rules of origin under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AFCFTA. AFCFTA General Secretary Wamkele Mene disclosed ahead of the opening of the Biashara Africa Conference, which is underway in Lome, Togo. He said this is an indication of progress towards maximizing seamless trade among African countries and advancement of trade under the ACFTA.
The level of political commitment that was required to ensure that this indeed becomes a reality is unprecedented. To date, 50 state parties have ratified the agreement establishing the AFCFTA, reflecting broad continental ownership of this integration agenda. 26 of these state parties have actively started trading under the rules of the AFCFTA, demonstrating that the rules of the AFCFTA are indeed relevant to the market that we wish to build. All of this has resulted in a record intra-Africa trade reaching $220 billion in the year 2024, a 12.5% increase from the year before. What we are observing now is compelling evidence that trade under the AFCFTA is indeed taking place. The experience of the Guided Trade Initiative demonstrated that commercially meaningful trade under AFCFTA preferences is possible and commercially viable. The sharp increase in certificates of origin that are issued over the last years also demonstrates relevance insofar as our economic operators are concerned. Progress on rules of origin negotiations, including the breakthrough in sectors such as the automotive sector, indicate that the elements that are required to foster and build industrial development in Africa are steadily being achieved.
Malawi has been using certificates of origin to benefit from trade agreements under COMESA as well as SADC. Now, traders are anticipating to make market linkages towards growing their businesses as the Malawi International Trade Fair starts tomorrow. The fair is set to be held under the theme Promoting Economic Stability Through Enhanced Production and Industrialization. Victoria Solija has filed this report.
Preparations are underway as exhibitors set up their booths and test displays ahead of the opening of the 36th Malawi International Trade Fair at the Chichiri Trade Fair grounds in Blantyre. According to hosts, the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, MCCCI, at least 123 exhibitors have registered for the May 21 to 29 event, which will bring together players from manufacturing, agro-processing, financial services, SMEs and MSMEs to facilitate trade and investment. CDCO Regional Sales Manager Benson Banda said his team is ready to interact with potential clients and business partners.
As CDCO, we've just introduced, this is the fourth year, we are running a prepayment program. So we want to reach out to each and every farmer in Malawi, as you are aware that maybe with the constraints of the economy here in Malawi. So deliberately, we actually started this project that the farmers can as well prepare their seed. So we opened it on the 1st of April and we're actually closing it on the 30th of September, giving a period of 6 months. Someone is preparing for the seed. And as well, we would want also to reach out to farmers so that they should be aware that growing the maize hybrid is a way to go. Because once they start maybe recycling seed, it's like they're just actually wasting their time and the resource. As well as we've also partnered with the government to make sure that this fake seed is combated.
Lilongwe Daily Sales and Marketing Manager Gabriel Piri says the company has also prepared a range of daily drinks for sampling. Piri explained that the goal is to get direct feedback from customers on the ground.
Our expectations are high, especially since it's an international trade fair. We are hoping that there will be customers who are coming from other countries, which we may make a business with them, okay, and partner with them, because Lilongwe Daily is a big company, and now we are just setting for us to start exporting. We are already exporting, But with this, it can be also another opportunity that we can increase our business opportunities. But again, being a trade fair, we are here to meet our usual customer. And some, they are far, they cannot visit at our factory places. But when they are here, when we are here, we meet, I think they will have chance to talk to us and ask any questions which they may have, and that's what we are ready to answer.
Meanwhile, exhibitors from South Africa, India, Zimbabwe and Mozambique have confirmed to participate.
And Presscan Limited has handed over 895 million kwacha to Chikwawa District Council as compensation for communities affected by the recent affluent spillage in Chikwawa District. The compensation follows a pollution incident in January in which waste from the ethanol-producing company spilled onto surrounding villages, contaminating land and water sources and triggering protests from affected communities. Speaking when officially receiving, Chikwawa District Commissioner Frank Nkandawire said the situation had turned into a crisis.
The spillage really happened and it affected quite a number of households. And I should point out that the spillage happened at a time when the crops were about to ripen, and it really affected the households. So today, we are very happy that we'll be receiving the compensation value for the households that were affected by the spillage. Yeah, I should say that there was uproar. The communities were very angry when the spillage took place, but let me extend my sincere thanks to the community members for their understanding that this process was a long process. It needed all of us to be sober and also understand all the processes that were supposed to be undertaken for us to reach this conclusion. So we are very hopeful that with the compensation payout, we should be able to calm the communities and also give them a start.
Presscan Limited Chief Executive Officer Bryson Nkomawantu admitted the incident had been costly for the company, saying about 1.4 billion kwacha has been invested in measures to prevent future spillages.
As we hand over a compensation check to the District Council, on behalf of the communities. This is one of the very last actions that we needed to do to demonstrate our commitment and also to demonstrate that we have completed the actions that were given to us to do by MEPA after the incident. So we are very happy that we have concluded all the actions that we were demanded to do under compliance orders. No, there were quite a number of issues that we needed to do. On the list, there were two lists. A list that came from National Water Resources Authority, and another list that came from MEPA.
Well, that's all from the business desk. It's back.
Thank you so much, Elaine, for that business segment. Now to entertainment news. The rise of artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming industries across the globe, and music is no exception. From generating beats and lyrics to producing a complete song, just within a blink of an eye, AI is redefining the boundaries of creativity. But as technology enters the studios, difficult questions are emerging. Is AI enhancing music or destroying the artistry? In this special report, our reporters Temba Mwale and Simeon Boyce have tried to tackle the issue. Now, King, let's talk about AI in music industry.
Yeah, sure.
What impact does it have?
Well, I think when you look at how it's contributed to the easiest way of creating music, creating beats, like it's been reported by our colleagues Temba and Simeon, it's made it easier for artists, but we cannot run away from the fact that it's also killing the creative part of it.
Yes, I thought about it.
Yeah, it's killing the creative part of it. I think it would have been far much better if maybe they were able to create that from AI and maybe redefine it or rework it at the studio, I think that would actually be far much better. But realistically, it's killing it.
I agree with you.
Sure.
Yeah. And for the latest in the world of sports, let's join Norbert Jameson.
Sports segment with news that Malawi national football team head coach Callisto Pasua has described the Flames' 2027 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying group as fair after Malawi were drawn in Group B alongside Egypt, Angola and South Sudan. The draw for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers was conducted on Tuesday in Cairo, Egypt, with 48 nations drawn into 12 groups of 4 teams each. Pres Majawa reports.
Reacting to the draw, Pasua said Malawi must focus on preparation, unity and collective effort as the team begins its push for qualification. The top 2 teams from each group will qualify automatically for the continental showpiece. In groups involving one of the co-host nations, an additional team will progress to the finals. The 2027 AFCON tournament will be jointly hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania in June 2027.
It is a fair draw in my opinion, as we all have to play all the teams. Yes, we played Egypt back then and a lot has changed since. Remember, every game is a new game. To qualify, we have to play first, as Malawi, we just need to pull in the same direction and avoid infighting, as you correctly said. It's collective effort at the end of the day.
According to the qualification roadmap, the first 2 match days will be played during the FIFA international window from 21 September to 6 October 2026. Match days 3 and 4 are scheduled for 9 to 17 November 2026, while the final 2 match days will be played from 22 to 30 March 2027. Malawi will renew its rivalry with familiar opponents during the qualification campaign. The Flames were in the same group as Egypt national football team during the 2010 AFCON qualifiers and also faced the Fellows in the 2023 AFCON qualifying campaign. The Flames were also drawn alongside South Sudan national football team in the 2021 AFCON qualifiers, a campaign in which Malawi successfully qualified for the finals and went on to reach the round of 16. Malawi also faced Angola at the 2010 AFCON finals, adding further history to the Group B contest. There are high hopes among Malawians that the team will perform well in the qualifiers. The Flames last featured at the Continental Showpiece in 2022. Praise Majawa, MBC Sport Blantyre.
Football Association of Malawi President Fleetwood Haya says Malawi will benefit a lot should he be elected to the Confederation of African Football (CAF) Executive Committee next year. Haya said this after being endorsed by the Council for Southern Africa Football Associations (COSAFA) as its candidate during the 2027 elections.
It is for the first time whereby COSAFA has endorsed a candidate. It has never happened before. All these years, including last year, there have been always competitions whereby COSAFA, maybe 2 or 3 members are going to compete. But for the first time, COSAFA has endorsed only one candidate. This tells us to say COSAFA now trusts the way Malawi add value to the Legion tournament, Legion competition, and to the Legion Association as well. So to us as Football Association of Malawi, we are taking this opportunity to say it's not only for FAM, it's not only for Fleetwood, but it's for the nation. And I can assure you that my endorsement to go to CAF, you will see the fruits. You're talking of, for example, we have never hosted even a COSAFA executive committee meeting here in Malawi. We have never hosted even annual general assembly for COSAFA, not even CAF assemblies. But you need to understand, if I go there, I'll bring tourism in Malawi. I'll bring a lot. I'll bring more football in Malawi. I'll bring more opportunities to Malawi.
And finally, Arsenal have been crowned 2025-2026 Premier League champions, ending a 22-year wait for the English top-flight title. The Gunners secured the championship after Manchester City were held to a 1-0 draw by Bournemouth on Tuesday night, leaving Pep Guardiola's side 4 points behind Arsenal with 1 match remaining. Pres Majawa reports.
The triumph marks Arsenal's 14th English League title, moving them behind only Liverpool and Manchester United, who have each won the league title 20 times. Arsenal's success comes after 3 consecutive run-up finishes including the heartbreaking 2023-2024 campaign when Manchester City edged them to the title by just 2 points. Celebrations have erupted among Arsenal supporters worldwide, including in Malawi, where the club enjoys a huge following alongside Manchester United. At the Malawi Broadcasting Corporation, passionate Arsenal fan and video editor Tumigani Mpinganjira described the achievement as a dream come true for the Gunners.
The last time I saw my team winning the league, I think I was 11, 12 years old. So it means a lot. We have been bullied on the pitch and off the pitch, but to finally get the trophy, feels amazing. And pain goes to Manchester United fans.
We are the Gunners. We are champions. It feels very great that finally we've ended, the barren period of 22 years, without the English Premier League. English Premier League is the epitome of football. Maybe I can say probably in the world.
Many female fans are also celebrating the victory, among them business reporter Elin Kimoyo, who says Arsenal's exciting style of football has won the hearts of many ladies.
Wow, that's the first word I can say to express how I feel, because I'm pretty much speechless, to be fair and honest with you. It's been ages. We've waited for this for so long. I can even tell you that there was a time that I said, you know what, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to quit supporting this team. It's giving me a lot of stress.
The title also means the Premier League has now produced 3 different champions in 3 successive seasons: Manchester City in 2023-2024, Liverpool in 2024-2025, and Arsenal in 2025-2026. It is only the 5th time in Premier League history that 3 or more different clubs have won the title in consecutive seasons. The last such sequence came between 2015-2016 and 2017-2018, when Leicester City, Chelsea and Manchester City lifted the trophy in successive campaigns. Praise Majawa, MBC Sport Blantyre.
Congratulations to the Gunners. And well, on that note, we've come to the end of the sports segment.
Thank you, Norbert, for that sports segment. Well, that item also concludes this edition of News Hour.
Wasaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.